Good morning. Hello. So today I want to talk about some mistakes that I have seen child and adolescent therapists make in my 30 years of experience working in the child and adolescent mental health field and what to do about them. So, if you really want to get some good treatment outcomes, these are things that I've seen clinicians doing that slow that down or actually prevent it from happening in some cases. So if you are watching live today, I would love to see who's here. If you would post your name in the comments, let's see where you're from. What population do you work with? Are you using play therapy? If you are using play therapy, what theoretical models are you using? And today I'm going to talk about some of the fundamental things of play therapy that regardless of what theoretical model you're using, these are going to help you get really good treatment outcomes for your child and adolescent clients. So, the mistakes that I've seen people make that prevent that from happening. So I am Kathy Spooner. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and a registered play therapist supervisor here in the United States. And I have been working with children and adolescents in a variety of capacities, honestly, since the 1980s. I first started out as a special educator for children with emotional problems. That was back in the 80s. That's where I was first introduced to play therapy, which was pivotal in my decision to get out of the special education field because I realized I didn't really want to do the teaching. I really wanted to help children. And then I found out about this play therapy thing and this therapy thing. And I realized, oh, I want to do that. So that is kind of put me on my journey to go to graduate school and get my degree in social work and specialize in working with children and adolescents. Um, so I go live every Wednesday at 7 a.m. Pacific time here on the West Coast in the United States. And I live stream in my Facebook group for child and adolescent therapists using play therapy and expressive arts. That, if you're interested and you're on Facebook, that group is called Play and Expressive Arts Therapy Playground. It's for child and adolescent therapists using play therapy and expressive arts. You do have to answer questions in order to be admitted into the group. So don't forget to answer those. Also, I go live in LinkedIn. I go live on my YouTube channel. Honestly, my YouTube channel is probably the easiest place to find all of my replays, all my past replays. And lately, I've been talking about case conceptualization and clinical decision making. And what are those things? What do those look like in play therapy? These to me are some core foundational things that are really critical to provide some really quality play therapy services to your child and adolescent clients. And then I also go live into my Instagram channel. So let's get started. We have a few people. So, hey, Stephanie from Glasgow, non-directive play therapy. We have Annette from Ireland. That is so cool. And Annette is an art therapist. That is so cool. I love how you can use art in it's so therapeutically. I love art therapy. I am not an art therapist, and I love chatting with art therapists because I find out so many cool things. I use art therapeutically by accessing the therapeutic powers of play, using more of an integrated model, I would say, with attachment and neuroscience. And welcome. It's so awesome to have you. So, what are some things that you want to make sure you're aware of at least, and do kind of a self check in about are you doing any of these? And if so, how are they affecting the quality of the services that you're providing? And in my mind, one of the core things that is important to be aware of when you're working with children and adolescents and using play therapy is understanding how is play therapy different from any other expressive arts modality? How is play therapy different than simply pulling out games and toys? How is play therapy different than, oh, I like working with kids, kids seem to like me, and then you're kind of using more of an adult model? For more high functioning, verbal, and articulate kids, you could probably get away with that. For a lot of kids, and the younger you go, that's not going to be as effective. And the reason for that is not really understanding that there is specialized training involved in play therapy. And the benefit of getting that specialized training is that you have a really strong foundation for knowing how to meet the developmental needs of children in the play therapy session using a theoretical model, knowing how that theoretical model is applied and how it accesses the therapeutic powers of play. And to me, one of the things I think about all the time, so my husband and I love watching cooking shows. My husband got me kind of hooked because he likes cooking. I don't like cooking. I would rather somebody else cook and I eat what they make as long as it's good. But one of the things that we here in the US, we have this network. It's called the Food Network. And on the Food Network, they have these really advanced chefs like Anne Burrell. And then she also has another well-known master chef who is her partner. And it's called Worst Cooks in America. And so we like watching that one. Mostly, I think I can relate to that one the best rather than the other ones where you watched all these master chefs do these amazing things with food. I'm like, it doesn't turn out that way for me. But here's the thing. So Anne Burrell is one of the master chefs, and then she always has a guest kind of master chef for the season. One of the first things these master chefs do is teach these up and coming chefs, these worst cooks in America. They teach them the foundational skills needed for being a chef. They teach them knife skills. Like, who knew you have to get like perfectly cut food and why that even matters, or what is even the science behind cooking? Who even knew there was science behind cooking? But how do you put flavors together? How do you make sure this type of food is cooked this way? They go over foundational aspects to their craft. And if you think about it, even in like being an artist, and when you're learning art, you're first and foremost learning foundational skills about art, like lines and different art mediums, and how those art mediums are expressed differently. You're learning about different types of like paper or canvas and how that works different. We're always learning these foundational skills first, because then we build upon those. And the same is true in play therapy. There are some foundational skills that create your core competencies. And so the Association for Play Therapy, which is here in the United States, the Association for Play Therapy had some research. They had some play therapists who are big in the field, and they did some research. And what they did is they did this Delphi study for skilled play therapists. And what they wanted to do is they wanted to identify what are core competencies that are needed. What core competencies, you're a master play therapist, what are core competencies you believe are important for play therapy. And out of that study, they identified 3 core competencies for play therapy. So these are your foundational skills needed in play therapy. And some of those core competencies are knowledge and history of play therapy. Why is that important? I think it's important because it's your roots. It's your roots that ground you in the profession, help you understand where play therapy came from, what sets play therapy apart from other treatment modalities. The other thing is you are understanding what are the therapeutic powers of play and why are those so important in play therapy? And the therapeutic powers of play are a core component, a core element of play therapy. Like everything goes back to the therapeutic powers of play. And understanding what those are is important for knowing what theoretical model you're using. When you're using interventions, the interventions are going to access these therapeutic powers of play. Like, for example, I love using art. I use art and Santre all the time. And when I use art, because I'm not trained in art therapy, but I love art, I look for how the art is going to access the therapeutic powers of play using the theoretical model that I'm using. For example, I use a lot of neuroscience and attachment when I'm using more of an integrated approach. And some of the therapeutic powers of play that art can access is self-expression. That's a healing component. Self-expression, to feel heard and understood, to express myself. Another is access to the unconscious. Really I don't necessarily have to have words to be able to express what's going on. And I can do that using the play therapy process because I'm accessing this therapeutic power of access to the unconscious. So one of the core components of play therapy and really understanding why specialized training in play therapy, if you're a child and adolescent therapist and you're really wanting to get better treatment outcomes, then getting the specialized training will help you with the knowledge and the skill. And so these are things we talk about all the time. And I have a play therapy academy. And in play therapy academy, we meet twice a month, and it's consultation, also known as supervision. We do case presentations, case conceptualization. What theoretical model are you using? How are you accessing the therapeutic powers of play? Because these are core foundational skills that are needed in order to really get those really good treatment outcomes for children. And that specialized training then becomes really important to use play therapy effectively. And so I'm going to talk a little bit more about Play Therapy Academy at the end if you're interested, as well as I have a new course series coming out, Getting Grounded in Play Therapy Excellence. The first course that's out now is Getting Grounded in Play Therapy Foundations. And we go over all of these things so that you have a firm foundation in play therapy and what it is and what sets it apart. What are those therapeutic powers of play and core competencies, and what are the roots of play therapy? So I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end, as well as the series, because I have another course in the series coming out soon, which is Getting Grounded in Play Therapy Case Conceptualization, which is another really important skill that's to have to get good treatment outcomes, which brings me to my next point. For one of the mistakes that I see clinicians making is, you don't really need to gather information. It'll just get started, and I want to get good results. I want my clients to know that I'm going to help them. I want them to feel helped and supported. So I'm just going to get started right away from the get-go. Problem is, more often than not, halfway through the process, you're trying to figure out what's going on with your client. I think you play catch up a lot. And this is one of the things that I've learned over the last 30 years. If I go ahead and I get the information in the beginning, that helps me with my case conceptualization, which is essentially case conceptualization is what's going on with my client that's causing these problems. Why is this problem happening? And then it helps me, I use that information to help me formulate how am I going to help this client? So if we do that at the very beginning, then we get started on a much more effective footing because we have a general idea of probably what's going on. And this is called case conceptualization. If you're interested in more about that, the last 2 or 3 episodes that I had, I talked about those. Okay, so I don't know what is going on with my Instagram account now. So anyways, I got this new computer over the weekend because my last one was dying. And now I'm trying to figure out how they all work. And because I have Apple products, which is one of the cool things, my laptop and my phone, because I have to go live on my phone for Instagram, and my iPad, they're all linked up. The problem is when you get new things and I haven't figured out all the things that I need to turn off. So I just got a call coming in, and now my Instagram seems to be all wonky. I'll check it later. Anyway, that was my side note why I got a little distracted. So getting started from the beginning with a strong case conceptualization, which means you need to gather information about what's going on with your client. You need to gather information about the symptoms, how long they've been going on, how is it being handled, does it happen in other places? You're gathering information about your child in context, which means your child in context means they are in a family, they go to school, they may be involved in other community activities or maybe a religious community. That's your child in context. And understanding your child in context will help you understand all of the little roots of the problem going on with them so that you know what you need to address in the play therapy process. And this brings us to more of those play therapy competencies, which are, do I understand and can I apply the theory and stages of child development? Do I have knowledge of childhood related problems, mental health diagnoses and disorders? And do I have knowledge of family and systemic theories in play therapy? So these are all core foundational things that are important when you're getting that specialized training in play therapy, is understanding not only play therapy, but how that applies when you're working in a clinical setting with children, like knowledge of child development and what are childhood disorders, like the ones in the DSM, or what are the problems, what are the family systems theories, and I would add in there attachment. I use attachment theory a lot. So now you're conceptualizing the problem. Now you have a plan. We're always I always believe that we're in assessment mode all the way through the treatment process. But at the beginning, if we do that case conceptualization, then we at least have an idea where to get started. What are some of the potential barriers that are going to happen? How might I solve those? And then what needs to happen in order for my client to successfully complete treatment. So that's an essential one. The other mistake that I see happening a lot, and this is one that I made as well in the beginning because it was kind of how I was trained when I was learning play therapy and I was going to play therapy consultation to learn how to do this. and taking different play therapy trainings so that I had the knowledge, and then the play therapy consultation helped me apply that knowledge. And one of the things I never really heard anything about and kind of had to figure out on my own is, how are we integrating parents or caregivers or guardians into the play therapy process? That's an important thing. And I think most of us, typically what we do is we just do those little 5-minute check-ins at the end of the session. And what ends up happening, that might work for some parents, and it'll work for the really motivated parents that they're self-motivated, they'll go out and they'll make changes, they're a little higher functioning. That'll typically work fine for them. For the parents who need more support, that's really not going to be enough. And that's what I found over the last 30 years. Honestly, even when I was in teaching special education and learning, what I noticed is when parents were more involved in the process, their kids did better. And the research will support this. So the question is, how do you integrate parents? Are those 5-minute check-ins at the end of the session really going to move the needle, so to speak, to get the long-term positive treatment outcomes that you can get? And my experience has been, the answer to that would be no. What I found is really using intention to form therapeutic rapport with parents, to build that relationship with them, will make a big difference in your work with your child and adolescent clients. And for example, if you make sure and you communicate from the very beginning of when the first time you talk to them, hey, this is how I work, here's why I do this, I meet with parents this many times, here's why I do that. And then that honestly will save you time and burnout. You're not doing as many phone calls, you're not doing as many emails or texts. And I always recommend, do not do therapy conversations via email or text. So many things can go wrong with that. And on top of that, you're just constantly spending a lot of time returning phone calls, texting, and emails, when if you had a specific built-in time where you met with parents on a regular basis, then you get it all done then. It saves time, but more importantly, you're building that rapport with parents. And when you need to challenge them a little bit to facilitate change, or help them not fall into parent guilt and feel lots of shame and blame, even then when you're not shaming and you're not blaming, that's not your intention, they will take it that way. If you have a relationship with them that you've built, the likelihood that's going to happen reduces, because you're going to bring that up and talk about it in your parent-only sessions, and you can work through some of that, because that's a barrier that you need to get past in order to give them the support they want and that they need. So to me, that's another big mistake, is that child and adolescent therapists don't really understand that there's a much more effective way to integrate parents into the play therapy process, and why that is really, really important. And then the final thing is really understanding the balance between theory and relationship. I would even say that even in that very beginning, when you are doing the information gathering, that diagnostic psychosocial assessment where you're asking like a bazillion questions, you're still building rapport. You're still asking questions that helps your parents and clients really know that you understand what's going on, because you're trying to get enough information so you really, really know and understand what's going on as much as possible in the beginning. You can't get everything done from the beginning. That's part of how it unfolds throughout treatment. That being said, though, you can get a lot of information in the beginning that's going to help you get started on a really good, grounded place to facilitate that change process. So to me, that's the secret sauce for success. Balancing theory. How do you take theory and apply that? That's the practical application. You need to build that relationship rapport to help you know how to pace the sessions, what to say, what not to say, get to know your clients better. And also, it helps you to keep getting to black and white thinking, like, I'm just going to focus on the theory. I want to make sure that I get the theory applied right. I don't want to mess this up. If you don't have relationship, it's going to feel dry for them. And the relationship isn't going to help you necessarily. That's not that clinical decision making where you have to use those analytical parts of your brain to synthesize and analyze the information to know how to apply it. So we really need to have that balance of the theoretical model, because the theory dictates application, balanced with relationship, which is another one of the play therapy core competencies, knowledge of therapeutic relationship in play therapy. And what does that look like? So those are the 4 mistakes that I've seen over the last 30 years working with children and adolescents. So just a little recap for today. Mistake number 1 is you don't really need specialized training. I get along really good with kids. They seem to like me. I'll just pull out some games and toys and that will work. It will work for some kids, but the vast majority of kids, if you invest the time, money, and your resources in getting specialized training, it will give you that solid foundation of play therapy and how to help your clients get the change that they need in order to live a happy, healthy life. The second mistake that I see regularly is, I don't need to gather information. I just want to get right to it because I want my clients to know that I'm helping them and I want them to feel like they're getting their money's worth. So I'm just going to get started right away. The problem with that is then you're not getting started off with good case conceptualization that is going to influence your treatment planning. So gathering all of that information, you can still be therapeutic as you're gathering that information because you're still building rapport. You're also communicating to your clients that you are finding out what is causing the problem, and you are going to be able to help them overcome that problem so that they can live the life they want to live. And that means you need to gather that initial psychosocial assessment, which is also going to be grounded in your theory model. Your case conceptualization is grounded in your theoretical model as well. And there are some core things across all theory models that you need to keep into consideration. And if I use that cooking analogy again, you have kind of Hispanic, Latin American, South American cooking. You have French cooking. Maybe you have Middle Eastern cooking, or maybe you have like Americana cooking. All of those are different styles of cooking, but they all have fundamental basics that are required in order to be the great chef that they want to be. The same is true in play therapy. There are some fundamental things that you need to know, and those are things that I cover in my Getting Grounded in Play Therapy Foundations course. Also in Play Therapy Academy, we go over these a lot. The next one is I can just meet with parents the last 5 minutes. One, it's never 5 minutes. Two, you're talking in front of the kids a lot of times. Three, you're not really building that really solid foundation with parents. You will get there faster if you have an intentional plan for meeting with them, forming relationships with them. And then that will help to facilitate long-term change, because parents, guardians, caregivers, they're going to be with that child long after you're gone. So helping them get the skills is an important part of the treatment process. And then finally, the last one is, to me, this is the secret sauce that makes a mediocre therapist an excellent therapist, which is balancing a strong foundation in theory with therapeutic relationship. That therapeutic relationship is going to help you with the application of that theoretical model, your decision making. The theory drives the application, so you need to have that knowledge base so that you know how to apply it from client to client to client. And the glue that keeps it all together is that therapeutic relationship. So those are the 4 mistakes that over the last 30 years I have seen child and adolescent therapists make that keep them from getting the successful treatment outcomes that they can with their clients. So if you are interested in learning about Play Therapy Academy or this new training series that I have coming up, which is called Getting Grounded in Play Therapy Excellence, one of the reasons I created this course series is because of these things that I was seeing over and over and over again when I've been doing play therapy consultation, and I do clinical supervision as well. That these, if I can help people get these foundational skills, because that's kind of my superpower, is creating a framework, because to me a good framework helps me navigate any challenge, is helping child and adolescent therapists and play therapists, helping you get those foundational skills that you can build upon regardless of what theoretical model that you're using. So that's why I created the Getting Grounded in Play Therapy Excellence. The first one is Getting Grounded in Play Therapy Foundations. That one really goes over a lot of the foundational aspects of play therapy so that you have a solid grounding in what play therapy is, how it's different than other treatment modalities, how to explain play therapy to parents and other professionals. The other things I get asked a lot are, how do you set up your playroom? What do you need in there in your playroom? So there were some practical things in there as well. If you're interested in the Getting Grounded in Play Therapy Excellence courses, the first of which is out now, you can hop over to my website at rrhcounseling.com/courses. If you're on Instagram, you can pop over to my bio. You can find the link in my bio as well, or hop over to my website. And Play Therapy Academy is the consultation program that I have to take what knowledge you have and how are you applying that. So we meet twice a month in a live consultation group. We do case presentations. We do case consultation with those, treatment planning, giving each other ideas, different interventions to use, different tips for helping work through challenging things with their clients. Also in Play Therapy Academy are the courses Getting Grounded in Play Therapy Excellence. So those are all inside of Play Therapy Academy. If you're not in Play Therapy Academy and you don't need Play Therapy Academy, you can get all of the courses, which are all self-paced. They're all online. You can get those, just whichever ones, a la carte, so to speak. So if you're interested in those, hop over to my website. I will post links in the comments So if you're interested in Play Therapy Academy, you can schedule a free 30-minute meeting with me, and I can tell you about Play Therapy Academy, how it works, what you're interested in, what you need, make sure it's a good fit. And I will see you next week. Bye.